Let's see. And we are good. Looks like we are live. Mr. Colicchio's final exam preparation number 2. That's right. Well, actually, sorry, number 2. Quick shout out to Grace, Marion, and Sloan, because they can't watch this apparently, or at least, oh wait, is it Grace and Rachel who can't watch this and wanted a shout out, or is it Sloan? I don't know. All 3 of you. Hello. Shout out to everybody else who is here, even though that's 0 viewers. Come on, guys. All right, I will give you 5 minutes to get into class. I will get my notes set up. This is our last ditch, study session. Let's make it a good one. All right. I bet you anything you guys are up for the challenge. So I'll let you guys all get in, and yeah, let's get to work. In the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about some study tips for those of you who are new at taking high school exam. Now, for a lot of you, you had not taken a final exam in high school, and that's completely fine because you haven't been in high school, but they're a lot different than, let's say, the other exams that you've taken. They're not obviously standardized tests or anything, but in a way that they are just as important as any other test that you've ever taken. You have to remember that taking a test is not something that you can just go in and just wing it. It's impossible to do it. I do not recommend it, even if you are a straight A student. Why? Because there's probably something that you haven't looked at in a couple months that you should probably revisit. There's plenty of stuff that we've learned in the past couple months that you should probably go over. And that's kind of what we're doing tonight, which is based on the economics portion, okay? So I will be sure to go over that stuff, and we will make sure, another tip, sorry, I keep going with the tips, go to bed at like 9:30. Get a lot of sleep. There's no point of taking a test tomorrow, especially you first period people. Your first test tomorrow, regardless of what you're studying, you shouldn't be staying up late cramming. Cramming is not an okay way of preparing for a final exam. It's just not. When I have an important day of teaching or an important tournament to go to, sleep is the most important thing. In fact, I will tire myself out the night before so that going to sleep is super easy the next night. Now, for you guys, a lot of you have already been, your parents are good about getting you into bed at an appropriate time. But for some of you who are insomniacs, so to speak, let's just be sure that you guys are getting to bed at an appropriate time and that you guys are all ready to make good decisions tomorrow when you wake up. Now, the last thing I'm going to tell you about preparation for studying is eat a good breakfast. Seriously, eat a good breakfast. I know it sounds silly, but if you eat eggs or something like pancakes or a waffle or bacon. I mean, you can never go wrong with bacon. Unless you're a vegetarian, then, don't eat bacon. Crazies. But eat a lot of food so that you're ready and your mind is, ready to go. It's kind of like you don't just go and warm up for a sport, or you don't go run. You have to warm up before a sport. And it's the same thing. You want to make sure your body is prepared. So sleep, don't stay up too late, eat a good breakfast, and obviously don't cram. Cramming is stupid. That's why we've been able to go, throughout the last week and a half of going over all this material. Okay, the more you cram, the less you're going to remember. Study what you don't know. That's why you're asking me questions, okay? Looks like we got 6 people in the viewing room right now, so we're going to get up to about 10 people. I'll let 10 people get into the room, and then we'll get all ready for this. So get ready for questions. Shoot some to me via Twitter, or you can drop comments in the comment box. For all these that are following on Google+, you can go ahead and follow and put something on Google+. I will put my Twitter handle in a second at the bottom so that you can go ahead and use that if you need to. Let's see. And there it is. Hey, looking good, Colicchio, looking good. That freaking bow tie is awesome. Now, in terms of what we should be looking at today. Remember, today is simply just looking at economics, and if we get through of economics, then we can look at some of the old stuff from civics, but as a, as a guarding point, we shouldn't be going over too much civic stuff. Today should just be dedicated to economics. We have 10 videos on civics, okay? They are found in a playlist on my website and on my YouTube page, okay? Look, I'll spam you guys all I need to for, YouTube views and whatever, but in a nutshell, those videos aren't made for anything more than just getting you guys ready for that exam, okay? And for a third of you, that exam is tomorrow, okay? Don't get overwhelmed. Do what you need to do. Ask the questions you need answered. Don't come to this thing without a question, okay? So if you're watching this and you don't have a question, okay, that's a problem. Come up with a question. All right, I'm gonna take a look at the email. Looks like I don't see a lot of stuff yet. Oh, looks like we got a new comment. Okay, let's see. Thanks, Owen. I'm glad you thought my shout out to Grace was nice. If only that was an actual question comment. But I'm glad you approve. She's gonna be very happy. Okay. All right, still got 7 people in the viewing room. 0 emails have been set. Guys, if no questions come in, it's gonna be a pretty short video. I'm just gonna say it, I'm not gonna waste my time, all right? So I am going to step away for a little bit and hopefully I'll come back to some questions and yeah, so I'll be right back. And we're up to 7 viewers. Ay, ay, ay. All right. Looks like I have gotten a comment or a question. This is from Miss Maddie. Maddie, I will go over the Bill of Rights, but have you watched the video? I've got a really good video on this. It's really, really good. If you don't know where it is, it's on my YouTube page under Bill of Rights, but just in case, well, we can kill some time and answer this question. All right, Bill of Rights. The most important part of the Constitution because it guarantees certain rights for everybody. It was created by, Democratic Republicans, also known as anti-federalist thinkers such as Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin. Now, Thomas Jefferson, obviously the 3rd president of the United States, he wanted more rights for people. So what did he want out of this Bill of Rights? It was just a guarantee of certain natural, inalienable rights, things that couldn't be taken away from people. So those are the 5 freedoms, Amendment 1, and we came up with an acronym for you to remember, and we call it SPRAP. Speech, press, assembly, SPRAP, so speech, press, religion, assembly, petition. Speech, petition, religion, assembly, press. Okay, SPRAP. Number 2, bang, bang, right to bear arms. Number 3, no quartering of soldiers. Number 4, no search warrants, or no seizure of property or going into a house without a warrant. Number 5 is self-incrimination, right to the right to remain silent, that whole Miranda versus Arizona case. Number 6 is all about the process of law, the due process of law, a speedy and fair trial, a right to an attorney, right to a jury. Number 7 is right to a civil jury or right to a jury in a civil case over $20. Number 8 is the right to no cruel and unusual punishment or excessive bail. Number 9 is anything that's not outlaid in the Constitution is protected by the Bill of Rights. And finally, all power is not delegated to the federal government are delegated to the states. So that is the Bill of Rights. Remember, created by anti-federalist, democratic Republicans such as Thomas Jefferson. Okay, 5 viewers. Are we all like, what are we dropping like flies or something out there? Why are we in, where are we going? All right, looks like we have some more questions. Okay, thank goodness. So I see circular flow. All right. Know what I'm going to do is I'm going to find an awesome circular flow model, and we are going to look at that circular flow model. And what we're going to do is I'm going to share the screen so that you guys can see this. So it'll be easy for you guys to understand what the heck I'm talking about, because let's be real. I can teach this stuff to you, but it doesn't make any sense if I can't show you it. So view image. Okay, so circular flow, as you can see in the image. Okay, so we have 2 main sectors, and then we have 2 main markets. There are 2 other sectors, but we'll get to that in a second. The basic circular flow model goes in a circle. Okay, here's the thing. Households, businesses. Okay, now in households, this is where the consumer lives. The consumers, you and I, live in households. And what do? We own the factors of production: labor, land, capital, and entrepreneurial. We essentially sell ourselves through the resource market, the factor market, and to businesses. And what do? Well, they send us money back. Think about it this way. At some point in your lives, you guys are going to have a job. You work for this company, and the company every Friday pays you money. So factors of production go this way, money goes the opposite. Okay? Then we take that money that we bought, and what we're going to do is we're going to spend it, because that's what we do. We spend our money. And where do we spend our money? We spend our money at other businesses. So let's say, okay, you want to go to the store, you go to Harris Teeter, and you buy goods and services. Okay? Goods and services go from the businesses to the households, and in return, we give them money. I will make an example. Okay? Let's use me as an example. I am in the households. I am labor. Okay? I am labor. So what do? I sell my labor to a business, the school, and the school will then pay me every month. I will then go to businesses. Okay? I will give the businesses money, and in return, the businesses will give me products. So let's say I go shopping every Monday or Sunday night or Monday, I go shopping. So I give them money, and in return, I get groceries. Okay? Now, there are 2 other sectors. Let's just focus on the government. The government would obviously be in the middle, and see if I can find one with the government. That would actually be easier if I could do that. So hold on, let's see if I can find one with the government. Here we go. So as you can see, the government is now in the middle. And what do we see with the government? Well, taxes go to the government from both the businesses and the households. We pay taxes, businesses pay taxes. And in return, what do we get? Well, we can either get subsidies or we can get government jobs or government services. Okay? Teachers, we're a government service. Okay? We pay taxes and the government gives us free education, essentially. So in a way, it's not free, it's paid for. Okay, the government will also go through the resource market and buy us. Okay, they will pay for us. Why? Because think about it, teachers, Mr. Colicchio, I'm a household consumer. I'm an individual. I go through the resource market to the government. Why? Because they pay me to teach you. And in return, what do they give me? That's right, they give me money. okay? I take that money, the minuscule amount of money that I receive, and I spend it in the product market. I can spend that at businesses, or I can buy government products or services, okay? Government products or services are it's anything, okay? We can think about anything that the government will give us. But in a way, the government services are the more important things. Schools, we pay for schools, we pay for hospitals, we pay for roads, we pay for police and firefighters. We pay for all these things, not so much the goods, more so the services, okay? So that's circular flow. Maddie, I'm sorry you did not know I didn't have a video, but I'm glad you do know now. Okay, so that was circular flow. Let's see what else we got here. I am not lame, Jamie. You're lame. You are lame. Okay, that's why I have 5 videos, or 5 viewers in this video, which is now up to 7. So yeah, I'm awesome. You're not. Remember that. Okay, now that we've been through that, let's go ahead and Mr. Savino, I see that you have also commented, and what amendments should we know? Well, I already said this in my other video, and I've said this a bunch of times during class, but if you just go ahead and take a look at the amendments, the real ones you should know are the 13th, 14th, 15th, 18th, 19th, 21st, 22nd, 25th, and of course, the 26th Amendment. Okay, so in a review, and I'll say that again, 13th, 14th, 15th, 18th, 19th, 21st, 22nd, 25th, and 26th. Okay, here we go. I don't see any other comments there. Oh, we have another comment. Hi, Mr. Conway. I'm glad you were here. Do you have a question, or are you just telling me that you're here? You're just telling me that I'm here. Yeah, awesome. Okay, we're up to 9 people, so that's good. 9 people is good. We could do better, considering we had like 16. Jamie, I'm up to 9, man. You got to keep up. You can't be tweeting or trolling me via email if you're not even going to recognize that I got 9 people in this thing, man. Just telling you. All right. Any other questions, people? Come on. You can do better. Mr. States, an example of progressive and regressive taxes. That's a really good question. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and pull up something on screen share so that we can go ahead and look at that so that you guys can see a progressive tax. Okay, now if you understand the word progressive, you should know that progressive means that it's going to do what? And now that I feel like I'm officially on Blue's Clues, because I'm talking into a television that I can't, or a screen that I can't hear it from the other side, a progressive tax, and I'm gonna share the screen real quickly so that you can see this. Come on, share the screen. Progressive tax, okay. So as you can see, a progressive tax is a tax when the tax rate increases as the taxable amount increases. Whoa, Mr. C, that's incredible, like wordage. I don't speak English very well, bro. What happens? What does that mean? Okay, it simply means the more money you make, the more taxes you pay, okay? So for instance, let's say that Mr. C, being a teacher, makes next to nothing, right? Oh wait, that is real life. So let's say that Mr. C, because he makes under $75,000, I'm going to, be taxed 10%. But let's say if I make $75,001, because I'm making over $75,000, I get taxed 12%. Okay? That means the more money I make, the higher the taxes I'm going to be paying. Okay? Now, if we type in regressive tax as you can see, is a tax imposed in such a manner that the tax rate decreases as the amount of taxation increases. So yes, Owen, to answer your question, there is such a thing as a regressive tax. It's just very unlikely. Like, what kind of backwards country would ever do that? Hey, you make a lot of money? That's really good. You should keep that money. Hey, poor person, you don't have a lot of money, you pay more in taxes. Ugh. Yeah, I don't really, first of all, I don't know what that was. That's just Tuesday. But in a way, you have to remember, like, this whole thing is like impossible to understand all of it. But at the same time, like, regressive taxes aren't common. Like, I can't even think of any countries that would do a regressive tax. We definitely do a progressive tax. We definitely, the more money people make, the more they get taxed, okay? That's just the way that sometimes it works, because, you know, we want rich people to pay more in taxes because they have more to afford. Okay, you don't want to tax 50% to somebody who only makes $30,000. As some of you found out in your life project, your financial project, you realize that taxes were killing you pretty bad. Okay, think about all of you who made like $40,000, but after taxes, you only got like 28 because you were taxed so much. Okay, those of you who made a lot of money, you were taxed the same amount. That probably wasn't fair to the people who were making significantly less than you. Okay, sure, yeah, you have a better job, but in a way, you know, why is it fair that this person doing a lesser job has to pay the same tax rate? Different jobs. Okay, so that's the argument. That's why progressive taxes are kind of a thing. Like I said, regressive, not so much a thing. While we're on the taxes, though, remember taxes do include excise tax, which are taxes on goods like cigarettes, gambling, alcohol. There's also taxes on property, like your house or your car, which you have to pay, or you can, you know, go to jail for that. There are taxes on there's taxes on like dead people's houses, which are called estates. So like if, you know, your grandparents unfortunately die and they leave you like an inheritance, you know, that gets taxed. That does get taxed. What else do we have? We have taxes on there's sales tax, which, you know, if we go to the store and we buy clothes, you know, something costs $5.99. Is it actually $5.99? No, $5.99 is just the before tax price. After taxes, you know, you're up to like, I don't know, $6.32, $6.40, $6.50. Okay. You have payroll tax, which if you work for a business, you have to pay a payroll tax. And then finally, you have like your Social Security and federal income taxes. These are taxes that just automatically come out of your paycheck. So taxes, always fun to talk about, not so much fun to pay. Hey, we've broken 10 viewers. We are now at 11 double digits. I'm going to go ahead and do something with my focus. I'm going to make it brighten. Whoa, that's crazy. And we lost somebody, so I'm going to go back down to do original. But if I get to 20, I'll do the rest in black and white because YOLO. Right, Jamie? YOLO, that's what you always tell me. All right, so I think I saw somebody with budgeting. So budgeting is a great question. Like, what do we need to know about budgeting? Well, as we've looked at our last practice exam and we looked at the last couple quizzes that we've been taking, like, it's pretty safe to assume that budgeting is all really common sense. Like, why should we budget our money? To save our money, to make sure that we spend what we have and not spend anything more than that. Okay, if we can focus on the goals of budgeting, okay, saving money, not spending more than we have, spending within your range, these are all positive things of budgeting. We also had the question of why, how does education affect it? Well, we took a class on budgeting. You know, the whole goal of budgeting is to make sure that there's a plan that we stick to and follow. You know, you guys live in a really awesome time because as teenagers, you have so much ahead of you in terms of like technology and ways of saving your money. Think about it. How many of you have cell phones? A good amount of you. How many of you have the internet? Well, definitely 9 of you that are watching me. Those of you who obviously have those luxuries can budget your money all electronically. Those spreadsheets, that's what people like think are revolutionary, and those are outdated now, okay? Those apps like the Level Money and You Need to Budget app, those are free apps to help you budget your money. Something that I use still to this day. Why? To make sure that I can spend comfortably and that I can live, you know, as a lowly paid teacher, but still live a good life because I know how to save and spend my money. Now, let's go over the difference between credit and debit. So Credit cards. These are not the same as debit cards, okay? Credit cards are, it's a card, it's a form of credit, it's an unsecured payment, okay? There's two types of credit. There are credit cards and there are loans. Loans are called secured credit because they're backed up by something. Unsecured credit is credit cards, and they are not backed up by anything but a credit score. And we'll get to that in a second. To get a loan, you have to go through a bank or financial institution. Okay, it can be a bank, it can be a credit union, it can be a loan institution. I recommend a bank or a credit union. You go to the credit union or the bank and you fill out a loan application and you say, what are you getting the loan for? How long do you expect to pay it off? Why are you getting it? It could be, a bike or a car, or it could be like, starting a business, and you have to tell them what your business is going to be. And generally, what a bank's going to ask you for is collateral. And collateral is the security that you're going to pay back this loan, and if you don't, then you lose the item. So for instance, let's say Mr. C goes to the bank, and let's pretend that this is like a plate of gold, okay? Obviously, it's just an iPod, but let's pretend it's solid gold. And I go to the bank and I go, all right, look at bank. This is 2 pounds of gold. I'm going to, I want you to give me a $100,000 loan so that I can start my own company. They're going to look at me and be like, dude, you got like 2 pounds of gold. Why do you need a loan? Like, it's regardless, don't worry about it. But here's my collateral. And the bank goes, okay, here's $100,000. We're going to give you 4% interest, meaning that at the end of the loan period, you're going to end up paying $100,000 times 0.04. So if I do the math real quick, I think it's $100,004 times 0.04. Yeah, it's $104,000 that I'll end up paying in my loan when I'm done. But if I don't pay it back, I lose that gold. Okay, I don't owe the bank anymore. I never get the gold back. Okay, what do people get loans for primarily? Two things: cars and houses. They're secured, okay, but I didn't give the bank any collateral. Well, you kind of did, because when you signed the loan for a mortgage, your house is your collateral. If you don't pay your house payment, you lose your house. Okay, same thing with a car. If you don't pay your car bill, you lose your car. Now let's jump to the other side of credit, and we talk about credit cards, unsecured. The only thing that credit cards are backed up by is your credit score, okay? And that's that 3-digit number between 300 and 850 that determines if you are a good buyer and a good if you can pay back your money with efficiency. So let's say that your credit score is bad. What does that mean? It means it's pretty hard to get a good loan, okay, or a good credit card. It's going to be hard for you to get a good credit card. It's going to be hard for you to get a loan when you want a house or a car, okay? A credit score basically guarantees you either the ability to get credit or the inability to get credit. The way you build up your credit score is by paying your balance at the end of each month in full, okay? If you don't have the money, don't spend it. I mean, there's sometimes that you have to buy things like, let's say you get into a car accident, you have to buy car repairs, you were in the hospital, you need to pay hospital bills, and maybe you can't afford it all in 1 month. Then you could just split it into 2 months, but don't ever pay the minimum, and always pay more than half so that you can pay it, 1 month, then 2 months. Why? Because if you do that, then your credit score is going to go up. And you want your credit score to go up. If your credit score is down, you won't be able to get loans. If you do get a credit card, they're going to boost your APR, which is your annual percentage rate, by a lot, okay? But I don't want to deter you from credit cards, because for some of you who were lucky enough to have Mr. Zoe come on and talk to you guys about credit, he told you all about the great rewards, okay? Credit's awesome. If you use it the right way, it can give you rewards like points or miles. So let's say you like to travel. If you use a credit card, you can use your credit card and gather up a bunch of miles and then go to, like, I don't know, some awesome place either in the United States or not, and you can go for free. Your plane ticket's covered by your credit card miles, okay? Let's say you rack up a lot of points and you buy like a bike or something, or an Xbox. Like, that's so cool. You can, just by using your credit card and paying back, you get rewards for that, okay? So let's look at, that's credit. What is the difference of credit and debit? Well, debit's money you already have. if you get paid $2,000 and that goes in your checking account, well, you take your $2,000, and if you spend money on your debit card, it automatically comes out of your checking account. You can't spend more than you have, and if you do, well, then you're out of luck and you're going to get charged a lot of money. Some banks, like Bank of America, they require you to have a certain amount of money in your account at each time. If you say it's $50, if you have under $50, they're actually going to charge you for having under $50, which is ridiculous. It's like, dude, I don't even have money and you're charging me because I don't have enough money in my account. But regardless, credit, spending money you don't have and paying back later. Okay, you charge it. When you charge something, you're paying for something later by buying it now. Debit, on the other hand, debit cards, you are paying it for it, but with money you already have. Okay, there are alternative ways of not having cash on you. A lot of people don't feel safe with a lot of cash on them, so they carry credit cards and debit cards. That's cool. I know a lot of people like that. Personally, me, I like having a couple of bills on me. All right. Speaking of bills, remember, in terms of money, you have to remember that notes are money. Okay. If you look at every dollar bill, it says that it's a Federal Reserve note. It's, bonds are the things that aren't money. Okay. Just remember that. All right. Let's take a look. I see questions about market structures, so I will go ahead and do that next. And then Sequoia, I see your question about disposable income, so we will do that actually first because we're on the money thing anyways. And then Josh, we will get into the market structures. Stasia, I see your question about the business cycle, and all I can say is I've already done that, and I don't mean to be a jerk about it, but if you just wait for the video to end and then you just play it over, I think about 10 or 15 minutes into it, we talked about it. So you can go back and watch it through there. Now, in terms of disposable income, okay, there's two types of income. There is disposable and discretionary. Let's say you get paid, okay? We're raining in the dollars, okay? We have a lot of money coming in and we need to know what money we have. Well, let's see if I can find a good sort of way. Let's see if I can find a good resource about that. Okay, here we go. Once again, screen share. Bye-bye. Okay, so Sequoia, this is your question. What's the difference between disposable and discretionary? So the amount of an individual's income that is left for spending, investing, or saving after taxes and personal necessities have been paid, that's disposable income. So let's say, Sequoia, you get paid, $1,000 this week, okay? So what do you have to put that money to? Well, let's say you pay for your rent, okay? So your shelter. Okay, the money, sorry, let's go back. Taxes. Okay, your taxes are already going to be taken out. So instead of making $1,000, your taxes take away, $150. You're left with $850. So that's your money after taxes that you spend on your needs, such as food, shelter, and clothing. So you pay for, food. You pay for your house. You pay for groceries, your rent, and so clothing that you need. And when we talk about clothing that we need, that's like thrift store stuff. Okay. Discretionary income is the money that you spend on your wants, okay? Like if you went out to the movies or something, then that would be discretionary income, okay? So disposable is the money you spend on the things you need, okay? And then obviously the money that you spend on your wants is your discretionary income, okay? Now, everybody's a few people. Maddie, I see you also asking questions about the market structures. Now, for those of you who are lucky enough to download one of these bad boys, okay, I am on page, there's 19 pages, and I think I'm on page 17 or 16. On the right side, there is, or on the one side halfway down the page, you'll see competition. And under competition, you'll see the 4 market structures. Well, actually, you'll only see 3 market structures because somebody forgot to put monopoly on there. But we'll go for that in a second. Monopoly's easy. So, perfect competition. Okay? Let me go get an example of a perfect competition. All right, so if you go to the farmer's market, okay, that's a perfect place to see perfect competition. Because what you're going to find are a bunch of fruit, like peaches. And peaches are delicious, okay? I love peaches. They're juicy, they're delicious. They are the creme de la crop of the fruits. But they're not different than other peaches. If I bought this peach from one vendor and I go down to the next vendor, I'm going to find an additional peach that looks very similar to this peach. Which peach should I buy? Well, let me tell you something. Whatever peach is cheaper, I'm going to buy. Why? Because there's no differentiation. If I take a bite out of this peach, which I'm not going to because that would be a waste of the peach, it's going to taste the same as this peach. If this costs $1 and this costs $2, why would I pay an extra $1? It's the same thing. So perfect competition, when goods are the same and people can't charge more for them because there's no differentiation, hence perfect competition. I'm going to eat this peach. Now, the next thing we have is monopolistic competition. Okay, let me see if I can go find something in my kitchen that's monopolistic competition. All right, good news. I found some things that are monopolistically competitive. So, Mr. C and his roommates often differ about the type of products that they need. So, monopolistic competition, when you have similar items but non-identical, hence the Food Lion cooking spray and the Pam, we both know which one's better. It's this one. Pam is way better. But they're both similar. Why would you ever buy this one? Well, 99 cents, $2.99, okay? So why are you paying, $2 extra for this one? Well, it's probably better, okay? But are they similar? Could you get away with using the Food Lion or Harris Teeter cooking spray? Well, yeah, of course you could do that. That's no problem at all, okay? So that's an example of monopolistic competition. Companies that are similar, but they're not identical. And because they're not identical, like the peaches, okay, they can charge different prices. All right, so that's that. Let us go and talk about oligopolies. I think I have an example of oh yeah, hello. So I got my iPhone here. Oops, iPhone here. iPhone run by Apple. This is a perfect example, not the phone itself, but the service behind it. So for instance, Verizon, I have Verizon. Verizon Wireless is a tough market to get into, okay? Why? Because how many people know how to get into the cell phone business? Not a lot, so there's high barriers to entry. Okay, it's not impossible, but it's pretty tough to get into a monopolist or a oligopoly. So there's like 2 to 3 companies in the seller, and it's the same thing for cell phones. You have Verizon, you have AT&T, you have Sprint, you have T-Mobile, you have Cricket and Boost Mobile. Do they even count? They don't count, right? No, they don't count. I'm not talking to anybody. There's nobody there. I just felt like asking somebody. It's crazy. Now, the thing about oligopolies is that oligopolies, despite their really tough to get into market, are super profitable. Why? Because their product is super non-competitive, because they're able to make a lot of money because there's not a lot of competition. Think of cable companies, okay? Everyone hates Time Warner Cable. But everyone has to have Time Warner Cable because they're the only ones who offer their cable at such a low price. Okay, and they're also the ones who only offer their cable in certain areas. Like when I was living last year, I only had to get Time Warner Cable, and I hated my life every day because of it. Okay, but I don't hate Verizon. I like Verizon. They might be pricey, but they're the best. Okay, and then finally, monopoly. I don't really have an example of a monopoly because there aren't any in the country because they're illegal. When it comes to monopolies, remember, one seller in a monopoly, they own everything in terms of the prices. So we did that candy experiment where I was like buying candy from you and I gave the person a quarter and I gave everybody else like a nickel. Why? Because they control the prices. If they want to set their price at a stupidly high rate and it's something that people need, then people have to pay it. Think about like Standard Oil. Think about steel back in the U.S. history. Think of Rockefeller. Think of Carnegie Mellon. Think of Vanderbilt. Think of J.P. Morgan. Think of all these people that were monopolistic geniuses with their product, okay? So, did I say Carnegie Mellon? That's totally a school. I meant Carnegie. That's my bad. Mr. C, everybody. It's that peach. Where'd that peach go? I want that peach. All right. Let's go, let's look at more questions. More questions. Types of businesses. All right, I think I just did that. Oh no, types of businesses. I just did structure. Types of businesses. All right, this is easy. Number one, sole proprietorship. You ever had a lemonade stand, kids? That's sole proprietorship. How many owners? One. Who collects all the profits? You, that one person. How easy is it to create your own job? Shoot, I created a pair of shoes in the classroom and then sold it to Jamie, stupidly. How is that pair of shoes business going, Jamie? Is it going well? You thief. Okay, so sole proprietorship, that's the first one, okay? You then have a partnership, which is, two or more people, all right? So you have two or more people that get together, and this is generally like lawyers or funeral home people or dentists, people who get into business with each other. The way they do this, and it's different than a sole proprietorship, is that they set up what's called the declaration. There's like a declaration of I can't think of the word, but there's a declaration that they both have to sign. It's like an agreement. It's a contract that basically binds them together, and business lasts as long as they do. If somebody falls out of the business, a whole new business is created. So there's no endless life. Same thing with the sole proprietorship. When that person stops, like when you stop your lemonade stand, your business is over. Let's say some of you are like landscapers and like to cut grass. The moment you stop doing that, that's the moment that the business ends, okay? Then we get into the corporations. Now, corporations are, McDonald's, it's Nike, it's Apple, it's Verizon, it's Pam. It's Pam. Pam is a corporation, okay? It's a publicly owned company, meaning that you can buy stock in certain things like Nike. You can go on the stock market and buy stocks of Nike. I wouldn't recommend it since it's a very large company and your stock would be pretty much worthless. But you can buy stock, and that's a percentage of the company, okay? You buy stock because stock will give you a return if your company nets you a profit, okay? So corporations, the biggest of them all, hard to break up. There's a board of directors. They are the ones who run the business. The owner generally doesn't have a say in the business. I think of Nike and Phil Knight. Phil Knight really doesn't do too much of the dirty work of Nike. That's more so the board of directors' jobs. Okay, he's kind of just the figurehead. Whereas a sole proprietorship and a partnership, they would have more control over what their businesses do. Think about lawyers who take their own who take their own cases and stuff. Okay, and I think of doctors, they take their own business. They aren't told by a board of directors, Dr. Williams, you really need to go operate on this gentleman rather than that woman over there. And okay, no, the doctors are going to make their own decisions. Okay, but in corporations, board of directors do that. All right. Let me take a look, see if I missed anything on that. To the left, to the left. I don't know why I'm saying Cupid Shuffle. I think I just saw, oh, moves to the left. I'm thinking it's supply and demand, and I just started singing. I apologize for that. That won't happen again. I think that's good for types of businesses. You know, while we're on types of businesses, let's just talk about types of economies. Let's talk about the four. Elizabeth, you mentioned that there was no traditional economy, so I will go over that one first. A traditional economy is an economy in a third world country. They do not have any means of industrial output. They don't have any machines doing their work. It's all done by, you know, your hands. You find this in Central America, so Central and South America, so countries like Mexico and Guatemala and Honduras in Central America, and countries like Peru and Brazil and Ecuador in South America. You also find this in African countries like Sudan and Chad. You also get these in, you know, Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia. Okay, these traditional economies are mainly based on agriculture, and agriculture obviously is farming, and basically what they do is they get all their money based off of farming, and they don't own any sort of, they own the means of production, but it's very small and they never can industrialize, and that's what kind of makes, it keeps them poor. The fact that they can't have a, you know, a profitable economy is due to the fact that they are traditional. If they were to change and industrialize, and yeah, man, they could be rich. You know, Sudan could be rich if, you know, there wasn't so much corruption. But that's another story for another day. Let's jump to the next one, which is a command economy. We're talking like former Soviet Union, current North Korean, sort of Cuban economy. Basically what it comes down to is the government owns everything. Government owns the government owns the people, government owns the businesses. There's no private ownership. The government owns everything and equally distributes the government equally distributes it amongst the people. So everybody, you know, everybody gets 1 acre of land, you know, 1 house, 4 rooms, you know, they get the same amount of food, the same amount of water, same amount of milk. Government controls everything, okay? Then you have a market economy, which is like if command is over here, market is over here, where the government owns nothing, okay? Private businesses and private citizens own everything in a market economy. The businesses make all the decisions. The government has no say. There's that awesome French term. I'm going to quote one of my students, laissez-faire, when we talk about it. Okay, so we have laissez-faire, which is French for hands off. And that simply means the government has to keep its hands off of the economy and let the invisible hand, so to speak, that imaginary thing that Adam Smith was talking about. Remember, Adam Smith is capitalism. Karl Marx, with his beautiful beard, was a command communist. Now, if you were to like take those those two economies as parents and kind of like combine them, and they had a child, you would have a mixed economy. And a mixed economy is when the government owns, you know, the economy, and they own the factors of production, but there's some leniency. We're talking the ability to, you know, there's like 2 types of mixed. You have mixed market and mixed socialist. In mixed market, you know, which is like the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom, basically the government has they say, you know, what business can exist. Okay, United States, can monopolies exist? No, why not? The government says so. Why can't I, you know, sell cocaine on, you know, at Harris Teeter? Because it's illegal. Because the government says you can't sell that. Okay, so that's why the government comes in and says you can't do certain things. That's a mixed market. Because why? Supply and demand still drive the prices. The government doesn't set prices. Okay, let's take the PAM for example. Government doesn't look at this thing and go, $2.99. No, PAM says, well, we can tell that the supply is at a good amount, but the demand for PAM is, you know, isn't that, you know, maybe it's a better than the food line, so we can set it a little bit higher because people want better quality, you know, butter cooking spray. I don't know. Now we get to the mixed socialist, and these are countries like Iceland, Finland, Sweden, Norway, France. these are countries that are semi-socialist, and I know that's like a bad word to some of you, but socialism is just a way of controlling, having some sort of government control over the economy. And a socialist mixed economy is when private citizens own the means of production, but the government still has to control them. They set regulations on certain things, okay? There's higher taxes, for instance, on some sort of goods like that, okay? So those are the economies. We did economies, we've done businesses, we've done that. Mr. Bolger says monetary and fiscal policy. All right. I'm going to pretty much go through this one pretty quickly because, Jake, there's another video that we did for the live stream 2 live streams ago, and that went over monetary and fiscal policy. Just remember, the monetary policy is controlled by the Fed. The Fed does it through 3 ways. Reserve requirement, open market operations, buying and selling of bonds, and the discount rate, also known as interest rates, that they charge to banks. If they want to create expansionary expansionary monetary policy, they want to increase the money supply, they're going to lower the reserve requirement, they're going to lower the discount rate, and they're going to buy back bonds. Basically, they're going to buy bonds from people so that people can have more money to spend. Now, on the reverse, it's called contractionary monetary policy, and what they're going to do is they're going to up the reserve requirement, the amount of money that banks have to keep in them. They're going to up the interest rate, discount rates, and they're also going to sell bonds to take money out of circulation. Now, fiscal policy is completely different. Fiscal policy is run by the federal government, and there's only 2 tools that can be adjusted. Okay, we have loose fiscal policy and tight fiscal policy. Loose fiscal policy, think about like a loose tunnel and, or a loose piping. In piping, you have water flowing through it. No problem. When it's like loose, it means a lot of water can flow. Think of money. Money flows a lot faster in a loose expansionary policy. All right, so loose fiscal policy, we're talking government spending and taxes, and they go in opposite directions. So if government spending is going up and taxes are going down, that's loose fiscal policy. Now for tight fiscal policy, it's the complete opposite way. Okay, government spending goes down, and then taxes go up. So that is monetary and fiscal policy. And if you want to know more into detail, I would recommend watching the old live streams. Okay, awesome. Let's go back to the YouTube comments. All right, Mr. Bolger, I see your other comments. I'll go check out your other video. All right, cool. You do that. You let me know how that goes. If you have any other questions, you can always email me. Let's see. Looks like we talked about best structures. Do we have any more questions? Any more things? I feel like I haven't talked about supply and demand, so I think I should talk about that a little bit. Jake, you have no reason to be sorry, buddy. It's totally fine to ask that question. I'm glad I could help. Don't apologize. It's always okay to ask questions. Okay. Now let's go over the supply and demand. Okay. Supply and demand. Let me get that graph out there for you so that we can take a look at that. Because I can guarantee you guys something. I can't guarantee a lot of things. I can't guarantee that you're going to be rich. I can't guarantee that, I'm not going to, cry if you fail. But what I can guarantee is that I can guarantee there'll be a supply and demand question on this test. Okay, I can guarantee that. So let's take a look at supply and demand. So, oh my goodness, look at all that supply and demand. Let's take a look at this chart right here. View image. Wow, that is tiny. That is pointless. Let's see if I can get a bigger one. Let's go to search tools, size, large. Perfect. Let's go for the one that is just, you all are terrible. All right, let's do this one. Okay, so here we go. So here we are with the supply and demand chart. As you can see, price is our y-axis. X is our Q, our quantity, either a quantity supplied or a quantity demanded, depending on, how much or what we're doing. If we're looking at supply, Q is quantity supplied. If it's what we're looking at as demand, then it's quantity demand. If we're looking at both, well, then it's quantity supplied and quantity demand. Supply. The word supply literally has the word up in it. See, right there, UP. If you draw this line going up, you should know it's supply. And on the opposite side, demand starts with a D, down, demand down, supply up, demand down, supply, demand down. And then that point where they intersect is the equilibrium point, okay? So what you guys need to do to be successful to understanding supply and demand is to look at what does that mean? Let's look at if we can see a changing of supply and how that affects, okay? So let's say, actually we'll look at shifts in demand because that one's readily available for us, okay? So here's demand, okay? So let's say, what affects demand? Well, one of the biggest things is the item is popular. So let's take iPhone watch or the Apple iWatches. Those are super popular, right? So is demand going to go up or is it going to go down if it's more popular? I think I heard you from your houses. It's going to go up, okay? So if we look at that, the demand's going to go up. What happened to price and what happened to quantity? Well, they both got bigger, okay? Price, let's say that this is $5 and 10 sold. If you go up, that's $6 and 15 sold. Okay, those are just my numbers I'm making because they're making up because they're going up. Okay, so the more popular an item is, it's going to go up. Okay, but let's say that what is something else that affects demand? Well, let's look at our chart. We have a determinants of supply and a determinants of demand chart. If we look at our study guide, we see that something that can change demand is the amount of people. So let's say that Ebola kills off 1/5 or 1/4 of the world. That means that there's going to be less people. Because of less people, that means the demand for something is going to go down. Why? Because there's less people and there's less people fighting for resources. So demand goes down, price goes down, but because of the deaths of 1/4 of the people on Earth, the amount that they're going to sell is also going to go down. It's going to be here now. Okay? Now, let's look at shifts in supply so that we can see the change in supply. Okay, so now we have supply, and look, they've even given us new P's and Q's. Okay, so let's look at the things that affect supply. The things that affect supply are the cost of resources, so natural resources, workers being productive, so productivity, taxes, and government regulations. And my favorite, natural disasters, okay? Because that kind of goes with the first one of the cost of things. So let's say that there's a typhoon and it crashes into your building. Okay, that's going to lower your supply. Why? Because you're not going to be able to make much. But Mr. C, you put it above the original supply line. Doesn't up always mean more? No, not exactly. Okay, so what happens is because we're going to the left, that means we're actually getting lower. Okay, think about it this way. Look at quantity. If we're here and we go here, what did we do? We went down. Okay, we went down, we got closer. If this is 0, we got closer to 0. So by producing less, we have to charge more. On the opposite, let's say that we get a brand new machine that let's say we're in the business of making carpets, and all of our carpets were home or made by hand, and we made this in the middle. But then we got a sewing machine, and we can increase the amount that we're outputting. That means our supply is going to be here, and that means that our quantity supplied is going to be higher, and our price of making the goods is going to be lower, so we can sell them at a lower price. Okay, so that is supply and demand in a nutshell. Let's see if I have any other questions. Looks like we have a request for elastic and inelastic. Okay, this is good. Good question. How do we know if something's, well, first of all, what is elastic and what is inelastic? Well, think of this shirt. It's stretchy. Is it elastic or inelastic? okay? It's elastic, meaning that it can stretch to the fact that like I'm going to be able to buy things, excuse me, I'm gonna be able to fit if I need to put more. Let's say I get like fat, okay? Then if I get fat, or if I get, let's say, more muscular, because that's probably gonna happen, right? More muscular. If I get more muscular, then the shirt's gonna expand. Is it gonna fit? Yeah, it'll still fit because it's elastic. But if it was inelastic, okay, if it's like tight, am I gonna fit into it? Probably not. Okay, so if we look at inelastic goods, let me see if I can find it on our study guide. Okay, yeah, actually under supply and demand, you'll see where it says elastic and inelastic. It's actually right down here at the bottom, right there. Okay, and it says, demand for a good is elastic when the price changes, meaning that if the demand is like, is it going to change or is it not going to change? Well, if something is elastic, it means that it's going to, it's not going to change. It means that, or it's going to change because it stretches, it's a new shape, okay? If it doesn't change, if the demand doesn't change when the price goes up, that means that the good is inelastic. So for instance, if you buy a need, water, gas, if because of the way we need our cars, medicine. These are things that are inelastic. Why? Because let's take somebody who has to take medicine every single day or they die, okay? If the medicine goes up $5, they're not just gonna be like, you know what? I'm not gonna pay it. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, cruel world. They're going to pay the $5 extra because they need the medicine to survive, okay? Now, on the flip side, let's say that people are buying their wants, like peaches. Let's say that this carton of peaches is $17. Look, I love peaches, but there is no way in God's holy earth that I am ever going to buy peaches for $17, ever. So inelastic means that no matter the price, you're going to buy it. Elastic means that if the price goes up, you're probably not going to buy it. And consequently, if the price goes down, you're more likely to buy it, okay? Hello, Taylor, I just got your video about monetary and fiscal policy. Same thing, I just told Jake, if you watch my old live stream about monetary and fiscal policy and monetary and fiscal policy, you will be able to understand that more. I also talked about it in this video, so when this video stops, if you want to revisit this one, I think we talked about it like, what, 5-10 minutes ago, it will go ahead and do that. It should be on your study guide too. I don't remember which page it is. Let me take a look, see. It should be on there. If it's not, that's just disappointing on my part. Goods and services, state revenue, needs and wants, cost and marginal revenue. I hope you guys remember those formulas. We'll do that next. I feel like we need to revisit our formulas. Wow. You know what? I don't see monetary and fiscal policy on the study guide, and that's disappointing. That is disappointing on everybody's part. So yeah, Taylor, I apologize that's not on the study guide, but I want you to go ahead. There's a chart that I gave you. There's notes on here. I think it's under May, like the second week of May, I think we did it on monetary and fiscal policy. But then we also did the video live stream 2 weeks into May, and there will be a better explanation of that. So go ahead and watch that on that. Now, in terms of what I just saw a question on, hold on, so long, farewell, hold on. I think I said I want to talk about formulas. Jake, I see your question about Supreme Court cases, and we will do that right after this. I promise you. I will do that. Let me find my formulas real quick. Okay. So things you have to know. You need to know marginal and variable and fixed costs. Okay. Fixed, okay? Like for instance, this thing of Pam, this is fixed. It's not moving, okay? It's not moving. I could leave it here. It's not going to move. It's not going to change, okay? If nothing touches it, it stays. That's like a fixed cost. Fixed costs are something that you have every month that do not change, okay? Thing that comes to mind is rent. Your rent does not change. Your rent is $500 every month, okay? It's not like 500 and then 600 and then 700 and then so on and so forth, okay? It doesn't fluctuate. Now let's talk about variable costs. Variable is something that can differ, okay? That's like cost of workers. So let's say in the first month you have one worker, okay? That costs $10 a week. So at the end of each month, you'll have, you pay that guy $40. Let's say you hire 4 more, okay? That means you're going to increase the variable cost by 5. And so the way to, get total cost is simple. You add your fixed plus your variable into your total costs, okay? To get your marginal cost, which is the additional cost of producing 1 more unit of output, you get the change in your total cost, and then your change in your quantity, which is usually 1. Okay, so it's your change in your total cost minus your change in your quantity. Now we also get profit. How do we find profit? Not profit. We jumped ahead of ourselves. We look at revenue, and how do we get revenue? Well, we do price times quantity sold. So let's use peaches. Okay, there's 5 peaches in here. Ooh, that one made a break for it. He was trying to get out. So let's say we have 5 peaches. Each cost $1. Okay, what's my profit? Or what's my revenue? $5. Okay, so $5 is my peach. But let's say that each peach costs me 10 cents to pick. Okay, how much did I profit? Well, you do your total cost and you subtract that from your total revenue. So we said our total revenue is $5. The cost of picking each peach was 50 cents. So what are we left with? $4.50. That's our profit. Okay. All right, Mr. Bolger, I'm going to go ahead and answer those Supreme Court cases for you. The big ones that you need to know, sir. Starts off with Marbury versus Madison. Okay, Marbury versus Madison gave the Supreme Court the authority to use judicial review, the ability to deem things constitutional or unconstitutional, even though it wasn't actually in the Constitution. Okay, so Marbury versus Madison, you need to know that. You need to know another one, McCullough versus Maryland. The United States can actually have a bank. It's totally cool for the U.S. to have a bank, and it's totally cool, and the states can't tax it. States can't tax a federal bank. Why? Because of federalism, bro. Supremacy clause. Federal government don't take crap from the states. All right. Another one you need to know is Plessy versus Ferguson. Separate but equal. Okay? Hey, man, look. It's kind of like Pam. It's like Pam and cooking spread. This is Plessy versus Ferguson. Okay? The government was like, look, you guys are the same. No, you're not. This is obviously treated way better than this. Why? Okay, there's differences. And that was the whole thing that the government needed to look past. Okay, so Plessy versus Ferguson, super racist, bad decision by the United States. Turns out to be overruled by Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. Another important court case, we have Schenck versus the United States, which meant if you are being threatening, you can't, and trying to commit treason against the government, your freedom of speech doesn't actually work. Miranda versus Arizona, if you are not read your Miranda rights, you technically can be let off, even if you were to rape and assault somebody like Ernesto Miranda did in Arizona. Okay? It's also like in 21 Jump Street when they are like beating those guys up in the park and they don't read them the Miranda rights and then they have to let them go. That's a real thing. Like you have to do that. Mapp versus Ohio, search warrant, the 4th Amendment. You gotta know Mapp versus Ohio. Okay, if they ask, I would be actually pretty happy if they did a question tomorrow based on Supreme Court cases. I'm actually kind of hoping they do, so that you guys can remember, okay? Because we also all did a project on them. Gideon versus Wainwright, your right to have an attorney. Even if you can't afford one, you are still given one. What else? Furman versus Georgia, no cruel and unusual punishment. Trying to think of citizenship ones, the 14th Amendment. You can use the 14th Amendment for Brown versus Board of Education, the idea that everyone's treated fairly. Other than that, those are pretty much the big ones. I think we have a list of all the Supreme Court cases that we've talked about in the past. So if you guys want to go ahead and look through those, I'm totally down with that. All right, so let me go ahead, and I have 2 new comments. Let's look at those. Oh my God, no, Abby, we are not going to need to know all 27 amendments. That would be awful. We talked about it earlier in the video, so just go ahead, and I outlined all the major ones. No, Jake, you're the best. Keep doing the best you can today, buddy, all right? You study, everybody study well. You guys are all awesome, and I appreciate the 11 of you that are watching. I'm sad that 36 of us aren't watching like we did my first one. Clearly the first one is the more popular one. Sad face. But all right, it is 7:40, and I'd be breaking my own rule if I didn't want you guys to study for at least an hour and then go to bed. So study for an hour, go to bed. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me tomorrow. Periods 1 and 2, you guys are gonna kill it tomorrow, okay? I believe in you, you believe in you, and eat a breakfast and get some good sleep, all right? Other than that, be awesome and continue to be awesome, guys, all right?